your fault. It was the government's fault. It was my family's fault. It was God's fault. Have you ever played the blame game? No? No one does this here, right? Huh? Well, before the blame game comes ignorance, avoidance, but then blaming, accusing, suing, etc. Unless we accept responsibility, there is no progress. Unless we accept responsibility for our lives, there is no progress. So Krishna is putting it square and fair in front of Arjuna. Okay, these are your options. This is what's going to happen. This is what I would like you to do, but it's your choice. That's called love. That's called love. That's what parents do with children. They, give them roots, and then they give them wings, and then they say, okay, I'm here for you. I love you unconditionally. I'm with you, but it's your choice, and it's your life. This is my suggestion, what I think would be the best for you, but you have to live your life. That's called love. And that's what Krishna demonstrating to us in the Bhagavad Gita. It's not an angry God, it's not a vindictive God, it's not God the Punisher, El Castigador, It's a loving, it's a kind God. And he has a lot of humor, and he plays the flute, and he dances, and he has loving relationships with all his devotees. And so he's explaining to Arjuna what the yoga system entails, so that Arjuna gets context, and he can make up his own decision. Okay, this may not be the best option for me, because I'm a passionate person, I'm an administrator, I'm a ruler, I have a lot of Shakti, a lot of potency, and unless I use my faculties, they will turn against me. They will turn against me. So passionate people, they need to be in a situation where they can engage their passion for something beneficial. Otherwise, that passion will turn against them, and it will burn them. It will actually be the cause of their destruction, of their suffering, of their downfall. So Prabhupada in the purport, he elaborates on the futility of trying to be a yogi in a big city, but one should be near a sacred river and in like-minded association to actually be able to control one's senses and one's mind. But it also says in the yoga text that in this age of Kali, the Kali Yuga, the time is not that good for doing this type of activity. Have you ever tried to control your mind? Yeah? Try to think of nothing. Have you ever tried that one?
That's not possible.
Trying to think of nothing. It's technically not possible because thinking of nothing is a thought, so that already defeats the purpose, so you're already done before you even start. It's like you tell people, close your eyes, or imagine a flame, or hear the sound of one hand clapping, or stuff like that. And how long can you control your mind? Approximately.
10 seconds.
You're doing pretty good. You're already in the master class. Usually people, they drop out after a few seconds. I was giving a lecture in San Marcos, the oldest university in the Americas. Actually, Santo Domingo is the oldest, but they had issues, so they had to close for political reasons. And I was talking about the yogas of the Bhagavad Gita. And at the end, one student came up to me and he said, I'm a communist, I'm a Marxist, but I want to learn how to meditate. I went to the Buddhist place, and they said, you do this, and you don't do that, and then you have to liberate yourself from all ideologies. But he said, my ideology is Marxism, is communism, so it's not going to work for me. I said, don't worry, just chant Hare Krishna, you'll be okay. Okay? I got a solution for you. One time I was in Udupi, in South India, where they train Ayurvedic doctors. Have you heard of Ayurveda? Yeah? You're going to live a long and healthy life. And he was a real nice gentleman, Dr. Kamat. He was professor of Ayurveda. And we talked, and he was telling me that, you know, in this day and age, Ayurvedic doctors are not so good. And I know because I'm teaching them. I know my trade. And the medicines are also not so good because so much pollution, so much compromise. Take the chair. And the patients are also not so good because they don't do what we tell them to do. But there is one good thing. And I said, really, what would that be? He said, simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, you can actually attain the supreme perfection. I said, doctor, are you a Hare Krishna? Yeah. And he said, of course I'm a Hare Krishna. Because it would be everybody's a devotee of Krishna. They all go to the temple. And once a day, they go there and they take darshan. Even if they don't have any time, in front of the deities, in the wall, there's a little opening. And people get off their bikes or their scooters or their cars, get out, take off their shoes, go there. They, okay, I need to go back to the office. And they run. But once a day, they have to have darshan. When I gave him Prabhupada's books, he took off his shoes. And he's a bachelor. You know how we know that he's a bachelor? He had holes in his socks. Right? That's a sign he's a bachelor. So he's mid-30s, he's the professor, the head of the department at the university in Manipal, which is the top medical school in India. But he was honest to admit that this process that I'm teaching is not working so well in this age. But the process of Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Yokevalam, Karonasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva, Gatyanyataha. The process of chanting the holy name of the Lord is working very well, and it is always available. You can chant whether you're at work or in your car. It's okay, we can close it. You can chant in any situation. There is no hard and fast rules. In fact, the holy name is so powerful, you don't even need initiation to chant the holy name. Did you know that? Yeah? So then why everyone is so stressed out about initiation? Because the real initiation comes chanting the holy name. And the real initiation is in the heart. Now, of course, accepting a bona fide spiritual master who comes in parampara is a principle. But how that happens, when that happens, that is a detail. It's an important detail, but it's a detail. Most of our illustrious acharyas, they met their guru, and they got shiksha. They got instructions. So we're mainly a shiksha sampradaya, not a diksha sampradaya. So it's good to study history a little bit to get some context on what is it that we're doing here. It's important. At the end of the Kartik Yatra on the 7th of November, the day after the Yatra finished in Mayapur, I was chanting Hare Krishna in front of Panchatattva, and my spiritual master came into the temple room, and he walked up to me, and he gave me a hug, and he said, I wanted to talk to you for a long time. And I said, well, yeah, I wanted to talk to you too, but it's been 3 years, you know, you're the busy one. So we went to his room, we talked for 40 minutes, and I asked him just about context and how things are. It's important to know context. That's a detail. It's an important one. You never tell people your guru, your mantra, and your Ishadev, the Lord of your heart. Those are things you keep private. Those are not things you put on a t-shirt or on your flag or on your resume. Because some things are meant to be kept private. Not because they're not important, but they're private. They're important, but they're private. So, because we're talking here about the principle of parampara. It's a principle. The names, they keep on changing, but the principle is the same. So, he asked me where you've been, what you've done, but I didn't want to give him a travel summary, so I asked him a few questions. So I said, what is the most important thing right now world, in our movement, in my life. And he said, you're going to like and not like the answer. It's to become Krishna conscious. It's not a show. It's not something external. It's not like you have to go somewhere and wear certain clothes and this hairstyle, know the secret language of handshakes, and then you part with it. It's actually about your consciousness. Are we conscious of Krishna in all our activities? Are we actually aware? Then I asked him about worshiping the Lord in the form of Shalagram Shila. Not for my sake, but I have friends and others who ask me this. And he said, and in our tradition, the only time where it's mentioned is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Mahaprabhu gave his own Shila to Raghunath Das Goswami. And who is Raghunath Das Goswami? He's our Prayojanacharya. This is the most elevated personality. So, said he has nothing against it that devotees who are mature and who are serious in their spiritual practice, that they worship Shalagram or Nirada. But if people put this all over the web and make publicity, so people think, oh yeah, I need 3 of those and 2 of those, and also send me half a dozen of these, you know, and maybe you can throw in a few cucumbers and a few tomato plants also, right? And I get the full set. Oh no, I got 500, no, I got 5,000, you know. So he didn't say that. That was my interpretation. It's not a show. It's really about developing our attraction for the Lord. And that's not something that needs to be publicized or that needs to be promoted, because it's a personal relationship between you and the Lord of your heart. Then I asked him, what about it continuously changing the rules, you know? Have you noticed how things are changing? There's only one thing in this world that's constant, it's change. Did you see the construction of the road out there? Jai Sachi, my old friend here, and me, we were driving into town and he was saying, this street is all different, you know, they tore stuff down, they done stuff, you know, it's all new, right? It's all different. Yet nobody likes change, have you noticed? Nobody likes change, except a wet baby. A wet baby. A baby who's wet likes change. Nobody likes change. And now we have a new administration here in this Cambodge. And it's a struggle, because we have to break with certain traditions, certain things, the way we have done things, because it's a new regime, and they have to make it work in their own way. Do we like it? Well, it's just part of the world. It's just a part of how things go. You walk into your garden, right? And all of a sudden you see one plant gone, right? The rabbit got it, or something. But then you see something else, like Vedavyasi, my old friend. We walked into one of his gardens. He's got many. And there was a flower there just smiling at us like, hey, I'm here. Haribol, right? And he was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? That's what I'm looking for. Good. Keep going. So, we have to understand context. And we have to understand our role. What is my role? As long as I think I need to control, I need to manipulate, I need to enjoy, I need to get somehow something out of this scenario, life gets exceedingly miserable. Have you noticed? When you walk out of that door and you think like, who's gonna give me what I'm looking for? That's a rough day. But if we're walking out the door and we think, where's my opportunity to serve? Where is there an opportunity to serve? Where is there an opportunity to show appreciation? There's unlimited opportunity, right? There's unlimited opportunity for service. But if I'm fixed, no, it's going to be only the way how I want it. I can only play the first violin. I'm the prima ballerina. I'm the first dancer. Nobody else can do what I do. Well, you know, the graveyards are full of indispensable men. We have to get context. And Krishna is giving us context in the Gita, in the Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is our tradition? What is our Siddhanta, our theology? And also, what is our practice? What is our Abhideya, the process of devotional service? So I asked him, yeah, it seems like we're changing the laws and all this stuff in ISKCON all the time. It's like the goalposts are continuously moving. And what do you think about that? And he said, you're going to like and not like my answer. I don't think about it. He started laughing. And I realized I should do the same. Why would I stress over something that I have no influence over? Circle of concern, circle of influence. I have influence over myself to some extent. And, you know, I can communicate with a couple of people to some extent. But this is beyond my reach. So why would I stress it? Have you ever tried to fix people? Has this ever happened to you? Or is it just me? Have you ever tried to fix people or situations or projects? It's miserable, right? Did you succeed? No. And the more you tell them to do something, they'll do the opposite. The more you tell them not to do it, they'll do the opposite. So reverse psychology may be an idea, but two wrongs don't make a right. So, you know, better not go there. Better not go there. Better to try to be a friend, help people by giving them a little context, and then let them make their own mistakes. And then they know, oh, here is a friend. So when things go rough, okay, here's somebody I can actually trust. Krishna tells Arjuna, I'm spilling out all these secrets, including how to capture my heart and how to get back to me, because you're unassumed, because you're not envious. You're not trying to use this against me or against anybody else. So, these are some reflections on today's verse and topic. The solution is the holy name of Krishna, that we should take shelter of the holy name of Krishna. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purva Shuddha Nitya Mukta Abhinatvam Nama Namino. Krishna's holy name is not different from Krishna. And in fact, Krishna's name is more kind, more merciful than Krishna. Why? Because Krishna does not give himself fully. Because we always hold back a little bit. Have you noticed? But the holy name is more merciful than Krishna. He can deliver Krishna fully. And the devotees who are distributing the holy name are also more merciful. Because they're so kind. That they're showing their compassion and their friendship, even to undeserving persons like myself, and give us the opportunity. Montreal is the third place that Prabhupada actually had a center. And he had some visa issues, so he came up here. And then once he got residency here, then the guys in the south also thought maybe it's a good idea. He'll also give him residency. And then he went back south. So now we may think I should travel the world, I should go to many places and do many things, but have you noticed that the whole world is in Montreal? Have you noticed that? The whole world is in Montreal. Everyone's here. People from every country in the world are here. So you just walk out the front door, you got the whole world here. You just gotta open up and connect. It's a great opportunity. It's a great city. But if I don't have context, I may think, you know, so much change, new road, new administration, winter is coming soon. So, we need to see the opportunity. And for that, we need to hear what Krishna has got to tell us about context, about opportunity, and then we'll actually move forward with more enthusiasm and with more conviction. Because Krishna wants us to be happy. Krishna wants us to be peaceful, not anxious, not fearful, not under any kind of stress. questions, comments, or reflections? Yes.
If changes make people more interested in Krishna consciousness, more in chanting, more in service, then it's okay.
Yes, and it's okay, but sometimes before it gets better, it gets worse. You know, it goes in waves. But change is constant. Change is a constant. And if you're trying to obstruct it, you become miserable, frustrated, and sick, and you die a premature death of weird diseases. And we don't want that for anybody. That's why we just put it out there, really frank, really straight up. Because I've seen too many middle-aged, grumpy people. Have you seen middle-aged, grumpy people? It's okay if you're a grumpy old man, right? You have something to grump about. But if you're a middle-aged, grumpy person, people go and look at you and they go like, this is not cool, you know, like, you're too young to have such a bad attitude. It's just not inspiring. So we have to learn that the way of the world is not something you can obstruct. And there will come a point where you have that Vidura moment. You remember Vidura when he got ousted from the palace? And he went on a long Java walk for 20 years. And he came back and gave one talk to his older brother. And the lights went out, and he actually saw the light. He had an epiphany. Yeah. And then they walked together to the Himalayas for the last great journey. And he never came back. No pictures were taken, no social media, no fan club. But because he had context, he had faith in Krishna's plan. And he was happy to play the role that Krishna wanted him to play. And that should be a good example for all of us. Because we all come in a situation where we realize that the old is not working anymore. That I may have to break with tradition, with family, with the past, and do something a little daring, a little drastic. If you want to do something of magnitude, of meaning, of purpose. But not based on ego, not based on selfishness, not based on enjoyment, but based on the opportunity to serve Krishna. So we can say this place is empty, that's a tragedy, or we can say this place is empty, that's an opportunity. That's a great, you know. What do you rather have, tragedy or opportunity? You do the math, right? Of course, some people love tragedy, but after a while it gets a little old. So, how things transpire is not in my hands. But I just can try. And Krishna sees our intention and our efforts. Because Krishna is Bhava Grahi Janardana. Krishna extracts the essence from everything. He's not worried about numbers or buildings. Why do we have all these churches? Have you studied history a little bit? Our society bought churches all over the world because in many countries people were leaving the church and there was a lot of churches for sale. Now, if we'd study history, we'd realize that history repeats itself. That if we make the same mistakes like the previous group who was running this gig, that we'll run into the same scenario. Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility? Or is that wild and crazy fantasy utopia? No, that is a very good possibility. And just throwing money at something doesn't make it successful. If you don't have a team of people who actually like each other and support each other and back each other up, then people just start leaving because it's a volunteer organization. You can't force people. We're not in North Korea or some other places. So people vote with their feet. They'll just start walking out. And you'll be left with your own old real estate. That is very hard and very expensive to maintain. work it for a dime on the dollar. And then the next group of wide-eyed, fanatics will come and will try a similar type of adventure. In other words, unless I work with Krishna's plan, unless I agree that I have to cooperate with Krishna's plan and do his work, and it's not about me, it's not about my ego. That this is my project, this is my temple, this is my zone, this is my country, these are my people, these are my disciples. This is my wife and my children, my car. How long? How long? A few afternoons. We're custodians. We're caretakers. We're servants. We have been given the opportunity to serve you. And that is a great blessing. But if we think it in a different way, it becomes counterproductive.
Did you hear when Prabhupada said, now we should boil down milk?
Yeah, but first you have to have milk. If you don't have milk, what are you going to boil? So first get some milk, then you boil. Now you turn on the heat, you're just going to burn the pan. Training, if you just look at people and say, lose the beard, lose the shirt, lose this, lose that, they just, somebody talk to me. They almost have a heart attack, I was very fortunate. I came in a time when people were very forthcoming, people were very direct, and people were very clear. And you knew what was what. But now it's whatever, man. And whatever doesn't do it. There is no democracy. Not in the kitchen, not in the boardroom, not in the bedroom, not on the battlefield. There is no democracy. It's not a good operating system for most things. Unless you have Brahmins, you have very intelligent, educated people who agree to cooperate under certain principles. But for others, it's not a good operating system. That's why we have to understand what are the principles, the dynamics of the game. Some people are motivated by fear, some people are motivated by profit, some people are motivated by duty, and some people are motivated by love. So we have to see what is my motivation. I can't ascertain your motivation. And how can I improve my motivation? How can I upgrade my motivation? Have you met fear? It's not the best motivating factor. People do strange things when they're under stress, when they're in fear. You have a question?
Yes, Prabhu. In the purport, what does it say about, speaking of context, it talks about seed, but we are in the seed right now. Do you want to look it up?
Yeah, I just read it.
What does it say?
What does it say about the city? It says that trying to practice yoga in a city is not ideal. But often this is not talking about, being in a holy place near the Jamuna, the Ganga. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. So the so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefit, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. Well, it's good. We're not a so-called yoga society. We're doing bhakti yoga. We're practicing devotional service to Krishna, and that can be done anywhere, whether you're there or there or here. Because the zip code is not what defines your consciousness. But for the meditative forms of yoga, it's important. That's why that system doesn't work in the city. But bhakti yoga, that's available everywhere. The yoga of selfless love, of devotional service. Does that work for you? Now you have the fortune to live in the countryside. It's peaceful. It's very nice. But it's also one form of an austerity. And And some people live in the big city, in the jungle, the concrete jungle, and they have to serve here. And it's good for certain things, but for a lot of things it's a great obstacle. But it's good for preaching. The problem is we always want the other situation. We always want someone else's job. The grass is greener on the other side of the road. And because we're sheep, we tend to follow, sheep. I was in Ireland visiting my old friend. No. And this big field. There's a sheep were there, and I made some noise, and one sheep started running in that direction. All the sheep ran over there. And you can do this all day long, and they keep just doing that thing. And we think it's funny, but we don't realize that, man, we're sheep. Somebody does something, some people just, oh yeah, we have to do that. We have to do that. We have to. Prabhupada wanted us to be independently thoughtful and self-reliant. That doesn't mean that you're a speculator. It means you use your own head to actually study the texts and to contextualize them and see how they apply. Not a blind follower, and also not absurd inquiry. And you stand on your own feet. You don't think like the government or the institution or this one or that one has to back me up. But you learn how to take care of yourself. Of course, we know we all depend on Krishna. It's all His mercy. We're not, independent as such in the bigger context. But we should learn to take responsibility for our actions. Other comments or questions or reflections on any of these topics? Does this make any sense or sound wild and crazy?
Prabhu, so you mentioned there's 4 kinds of motivations, right?
Yes.
It's gunas and then transcendental, right? So how, maybe you can give some insight, how can we keep this focus on loving motivation rather than, falling down to either obligation or fear or profit?
Well, first we have to know where we are at, because right now we might be in denial. We might think that I'm a great devotee and I'm just doing everything I do out of love. But just wait till change comes. And somebody says, no, it's not your room anymore. That's not your service or your position anymore. Or that's not your car key or, and you go, what? When change hits, then you'll see how much am I actually attached to this situation. So we have to become aware, where am I actually? If I don't know that, I don't know where I'm going. I just dream, I'm just running on the chariot of the mind. And I see a ton of potential here, but I see also a lot of fear, and some survivalism, and then, some duty, of course. But to actually come to the stage of selfless love, that I'm doing it to please Krishna, that should be my aspiration. But I have to be honest that I'm maybe not there yet. Not quite. Just like, I can tell you many stories. I don't want to bore you with more autobiography. So it's good to have good association. So choose your mentors, choose your role models, and get inspired. There are so many people who are excelling in so many fields. Like here's the amazing deity worship and flower garlands. So many, accomplished devotees who have given their lives, who have done decades of service. Now, how we can get a little more synergy, a little more teamwork, and a little more focus. That depends on how we move, how open we are for guidance, for constructive dialogue, which also means samvad, that we're doing what we're doing now. We're having a moment of truth where we are not trying to impress, but we're trying to improve ourselves. That's why I'm coming here. I'm not here to teach you or to tell you how it is or how you should live your life. I'm here to meet two old friends. And, you know, if I can help in a small way, that'd be my good fortune. Yes, Prabhu.
So what your guru was telling you, that it's really about becoming a devotee and developing Krishna consciousness. So in the midst of whatever change, as you mentioned, or whatever situation anybody's going through, like, can you tell us what is key to somebody keeping a focus on that aspect, like at all times, you know, like regardless?
Thank you. Key, one of my mentors, Vaisheshika Prabhu, says, always ask yourself, is this going to help my service? Like, what is most conducive for my service? As we said earlier on, if I have the criteria of what is good for my sense enjoyment, then I'm mostly wrong, right? I'm mostly wrong. I'm mostly off on the wrong tangent. But if I look at it from, okay, where's the opportunity for service? And how can I go in that direction? And then whatever Krishna gives me, I'll be okay. I'm still alive. I haven't missed a meal unless I decided to fast. And Krishna's got my back. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasko Hesudrita Nishchoy. Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kritahoy. To have the firm conviction that Krishna's got my back. And his plan is benevolent. His plan is good. Not just for a few, but also for me. And I will try to be a servant and be cooperating to implement his plan. Because I don't have an agenda. I'm not here to impose my little thing on anybody. Have you noticed in Sankirtan, when you're trying to get people to do certain things, how miserable it becomes? How they're exceedingly enthusiastic to prove you wrong? Right? It's quite shocking. But when we're just trying to give service, today I got a story from a person he's in Manchester. He said he was distributing books in the UK, in a university, and there was a lady, and she was kind of nice, but she had some doubts and no money. And he said, it's okay, it's fine, you take it, and if you like it, you know, you can bring me a donation, I'll be here tomorrow. So the next day, he gave her a chance to be happy. The next day, she came and she gave him £20 for a small book. She said, I really like it. And she said something very nice. She said, thank you for your trust and for your kindness and for believing in me, in believing in humanity, you know, like. She really appreciated that. Are we giving each other the benefit of the doubt? Or do we think, no, malo, it's bad, you're all bad, it's bad. No. You know that kind of mentality? Innocent till proven guilty. Okay, we're in the material world. There are certain tendencies. We cannot be naive, but you have to have faith that Krishna's got my back. It's possible. Okay, last point. You already had to.
But this one is very special, you don't know.
Huh?
This one, what I will say, it's very special.
Well, three's a charm. Okay, good.
I really like your class.
Well, I don't know if it was much of a class. I think it was more just me digesting all the healthy prasad that we got at Vedavyasa's home. If you want to eat a healthy, good, tasty meal, you have to go and see him and his wife. Because they grow their own food, offer it to Krishna, and then they serve it in a very, in a very generous and in a very friendly atmosphere. And it just does something to you.
We can maybe bring little bit to Krishna here.
Just like people ask me, why are you going to South and Central America, Hare Krishna. They ask me, why are you going to all these places? And I say, real food and real people. And they say, why are you not in San Francisco anymore? And I say, fake food and a lot of fake people. But we have to make sure that we're not falling into the same trap, because this is also turning into one of the big bad cities that has, a lot of angry people, a lot of people who feel not heard and not empowered. And that can cause some tension and some friction, as you may have experienced. And even in our own little community here, we have to figure out that we have to make it work amongst ourselves. And not think like, oh, where did you go to school? And where are you from? What's your nationality? Which side of the river were you born? And all that kind of stuff. Which is all totally irrelevant for bhakti. But somehow our mind has us convinced that we are the chosen people. Have you met some of the chosen people? They exist in every religion and in every culture and in every nationality. You have that kind of syndrome. It's called narcissism, entitlement. And then it creates a lot of problems. So thank you for your patience and for your tenacity to stick it out, because you're all hockey players, and you know that if you want to get something of substance, you have to put up and dedicate and sacrifice. So I see these as one of the examples of Prabhupada's love and dedication and his tenacity, that he didn't give up, he left no stone unturned, and he was happy to take any detour for Krishna. Happy to serve in whichever way. He was cooking, cleaning, writing, teaching, till one day, after over a year and a half, some young boy said, Swamiji, can I help you? And he said, yeah. He admitted that maybe they had maids at home, or their rich kids a little spoiled by their moms, so that, But finally the coin dropped, and the penny dropped, and somebody got the idea. So who am I to be upset? Prabhupada, when he came, he slept on people's couches and living rooms, and there was animals, and there was non-veg, and there was people who had no frame of reference. But he was happy to be of service, happy to see the potential rather than the deficiency in every individual, happy to be doing his part, and happy to start small. And now it looks like we got something of magnitude. But again, coming from where we come from, if you've been to Florence, Venice, Rome, Milan, you're not too impressed by structures. You want to meet the people. You want to meet the team that will actually carry the tradition forward. So thank you for being part of the team and for dedicating yourself and voting with your feet and being here on a Thursday night, even though it's not mandatory and you don't have to do that to tick off the box. And you get up in the morning and you chant your rounds and you follow principles and you try to be part of the solution, giving other people the opportunity of experiencing Krishna consciousness. That is very pleasing to Prabhupada. Yasyānave parabhakti yathānave tathāvaro tasyaiti katitāyarta prakashanti mahatmana. That is the most important verse of all the Vedic scriptures. If you please the spiritual master, then all that wisdom of all these texts will become revealed in your heart. The zip file will unzip, the lights will go on and they will stay on. How about that? Sounds like a good proposition? So, Guru Parampara is there. There are sadhus, there are spiritual masters, Shiksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus, mentors. It's up to us whether we're willing to participate. That is my reflections on today's verses. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled and disassembled.